Welcome to the State of the Buccaneers podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Pfefferkorn, and this is the biggest and only fan-run podcast of the East Tennessee State Buccaneers. We'll get right back to you after the tune. Welcome back to the State of the Buccaneers podcast. It's been a long time, been over a month. I kind of just lost energy. I work a full-time job, full 9 to 5, and it's just in the middle of football season. I kind of just got distracted. Had a lot of different stuff going on, but I am here to say that the State of the Buccaneers is back tonight with a post-feast week episode, post-football season. It's going to be a post-football season recap slash sort of recapping the start of the basketball season. We have a big game coming up tonight. The basketball team does against James Madison. Last week we had a couple massive games as well. I will get into those and several more coming up. But first I'm going to start by getting into the end of the football season. I last came to you all right before the Chattanooga game, about mid-season. We had a month left in the season at that point. Football season, it was had its ups and downs. Trey Lamb's first year. We finished with a 7-5 record on the year. About where we expected, maybe slightly better than some people expected after coming off of those two horrible 3-8 seasons with George Quarles. Down the stretch, we fumbled the bag in some games. Definitely could have made the playoffs, especially with the bubble in the FCS playoff. I'll talk about it here in a minute. But, ETSU just struggled down the stretch with QB play. Defense played good. We played good. And run game was good, of course. But just the turnovers, man. Turnovers and coaching mistakes, which is to be expected. Trey Lamb is a young coach. I love him. I'm glad he came to ETSU and so far is not left in the coaching carousel. We'll talk about that a little bit too. Some of that stuff going on there. My first order of business, I'm going to talk about the Chattanooga game. We blew that. Let's go to I'm going to share my screen here real quick. Let's share my screen. Share screen. Let's go to, I believe this is where we'll look at this first. The Chattanooga game. I think Jalen King struggled that game. He was struggling offensively, getting completions down the field. Brought in Geno English late. He threw a touchdown to get us tied up. Our offense struggled in that first half of that game. We scored only 3 points, I believe, in the first half. No, we didn't score any points. It was 3-0 at half. That was an ugly game to watch. And we just struggled to catch up. We had our chances. We threw a pick last play of the game, sort of the same situation as the North Dakota State game earlier in the year. Devontae Houston had game, they kind of held our running game and checked that game. We only ran for 117, and they just kind of played keep away. Got the lead and played keep away, controlled the time of possession. I don't know if you all saw that. I don't know if I pulled it up or not. Hopefully, it didn't show up on. I was pulling up sort of what my talking points are. I hope that didn't come up on here, but if it did, oh well. Let's see if it did. Okay. Nope, it didn't. It's just sharing that screen. I have the Stoke screen back here. But after that, that tough loss to Chattanooga. Let's find where my okay, that's the screen we're sharing. After that tough loss to Chattanooga, AJ Johnson had the touchdown from Geno English. The back end of the season was sort of capped by who do we go with, Jalen King or Geno English. After that game, William McGraney. After that game, the next game, we played Samford at home. Let's go to our schedule. Back to our schedule. Samford game was a shootout, of course, as always. Always, football games against Samford are always going to be tough. We were down. We started. Let's look at. Started out. Jalen King had an up and down game. Had some wild turnovers, but he scored a bunch. Had 3 touchdowns. Geno English came down in for the tush push, which is what it was. First play of the game, we came out strong out of the gate, turned it over on downs. Samford, of course, got their typical down the field cheese passing game. ETSU struggled early. We let with turnovers. We marched down the field. Our second drive tied the game up right back. But Samford, it was kind of back and forth through that second quarter. We got down 21 points. I believe it was 21-14 at the half. We scored right before the end of the half. It was AJ Johnson. I think he had 2 touchdowns on the game, if I'm not mistaken. He was big. He had some massive plays. Just some absolutely massive plays. He did have 2 touchdowns, 146 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was definitely the player of the game. Jalen King had 80 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 picks. Devontae Houston, 75 yards. Kareem Page, 65. Hakeem Maggette. Just a lot of scores to be had. We had, of course, we kicked a field goal to get it to 24-3. Jalen King passed A.J. Johnson 75-yard touchdown to make it 21. I think I mentioned that already. Then we got a field goal after a long drive, forced Samford into a 3-and-out. Samford went quickly 3-and-out again. We threw a pick. I was kind of worried when we did that. That was sort of the Jalen King special, scoring points and also turning the ball over. Jameis Winston special, we'll call it. He kind of played like that, or played like Anthony Richardson. Both elite talents, but just very turnover prone. And then on that final drive, we took it all the way down to Samford. Did the tush push. That's how I remembered it. Geno English got in, had the tush push on that final drive of the game, and we held Sanford with 1:46 left, and to get a big win. Sanford ended up finishing 4-7 on the year, 3-4. We'll talk about that in a minute. I'll just sort of talk about those standings here in a minute. My next, I should have covered these while I was downtime, but I just never got around to recording an episode. I kept pushing it off. But we'll recap it now. Bucs win. That was a big game, big win for ETSU. Nate Brackett was named Special Teams Player of the Week for the Chattanooga game. Okay. I believe we had a week. No, I don't think we had a week off. It's actually been 2 months since I've recorded. I just realized that. AJ Johnson, for his performance in that game, he was named SoCon Offensive Player of the Week. The 146 yards. He ended up being first team All SoCon, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Next week, we went on the road. Sorry, we had some technical difficulties. My internet crashed. But we're back. To talk about ETSU football. We went on the road after Sanford. We went to Wofford, Spartanburg, South Carolina. It was an away game. I was in North Carolina that day, but I was not at the ETSU game. Let's go back to Sharon on Riverside. Share my screen. We'll share this. Let's go back to my schedule. Or not my schedule, but for ETSU's schedule. So I'm watching ETSU and James Madison. I hope to get it done before now, but so I'm going to be looking down. Pay no attention to it if you're watching on YouTube. But I will update you on the game. It's 19-10, James Madison right now. Bucs need to get some momentum going. But we'll get back to talking about the football team. Let's go, Jaden Seymour. Let's go. Freaking powerhouse dunk right there. Crap, clicked on the wrong thing. Let's go back to our ETSU schedule. We went on the road to Wofford, a pitiful Wofford team this year that finished in the bottom half of the conference. ETSU dominated them. Jalen King had 2 turnovers, but he had 2 rushing touchdowns, a couple of long rushing touchdowns. Special teams was the name of the game. Bryson Irby played good. Houston played good. We had let's do the play-by-play. First half, we couldn't score. I believe it was 3-0 ETSU. At the half, we missed field goals, 2 missed field goals. We shot ourselves a lot in the foot. But ETSU recovered a fumble touchdown first series of the second half, go up 10-0. Wofford responded 10-7. ETSU, Jalen King had that wild Russian touchdown. I'm just going to close out of Discord because it is being annoying. Jalen King Seymour just hit a 3. I believe he did. Or maybe it was a 2. I don't know. It's 14-9. But ETSU versus Wofford. Jalen King had another rushing touchdown, put us up 24-7. That was pretty much the game. Punt, and ETSU ran the clock out and did a turnover on downs, pretty much ended the game 24-7. Jay Sandos had a lot to say about Wofford's fan base. I was in the car with Casey Wilkins, who's been on the show. We were going to the Luke Combs Eric Church benefit concert for all the flood victims in Charlotte, but we were getting amped up in the car for a Bucs win. Shout out Buccaneers Sports Radio for that game. But that was a big win. The next week, we took on probably our biggest game of the year as far as the conference race is concerned. We took on Mercer the next week. Let's see. Let's go back to stats. Can I get my schedule pulled up? Go back to Mercer. ETSU lost a close one to Mercer, 37-31. It was once again the story of turnovers. Mercer played a conservative game, ran the clock, grinded the clock out, didn't throw much. They held our rushing. They had one of the best rushing defenses in the SoCon in the country, in FCS. Jalen King struggled. He had a terrible interception first series of the game. Gave Mercer 3 points. Jalen King had a great touchdown. See that's the boomer bust season King had. He had a 68-yard touchdown to Hakeem Maggette. We punted again. We got up to a 14-3 lead. Those first couple drives, we subbed in, did another tush push with Geno English at the goal line, got a touchdown. Irby, the fumble, cost us dearly. He let it pretty much swung the momentum, and then the terrible pick six Jalen King threw, trying to get the ball away and just threw it up with no remorse. That pretty much cost us the momentum, 14-17. The rest of the game, punt, touchdown. ETSU. No, that was Mercer. Mercer returned. Mercer's special teams, and they blocked a punt to get a score. We came back. Geno English came in for King in the second half. He had a couple good plays, but he also threw an interception that might have helped us get closer. We actually stormed back within the final minute, kicked a field goal to get it semi-decently close, 31-37. Or actually, where was that? We had, I think it was 31-37. But we had two ridiculous offsides penalties to end the game. Trey Lamb wasn't very happy about that. But the turnovers cost us greatly. But we did set a school passing record for most yards in a game. We outgained Mercer 472 yards to 292. But those four turnovers, led to 20 points. We could have easily been in the playoffs. There were so many games on the season that we blew like that. North Dakota State, Chat, not Western, Mercer. Win that. I believe A.J. Johnson had 162 yards and 2 touchdowns, another massive game. Hakeem Maggette, Ephraim Floyd, Xavier Gallaudet. all those guys. Some great receivers for ETSU in the air raid. But we lost that game. After that, that pretty much cost us a shot at the conference title. Next weekend, or the next game, will forever be infamously known as the Darius Rucker game against Western. The Blue Ridge border battle against Western Carolina. We had a win, 24-21 over them. I believe we played a pretty conservative game. We got up and Gino English started that game after the disaster against Furman, or not Furman, but Mercer. Gino English came in, threw 2 touchdowns, threw 3 picks. He had inconsistent play too. I believe King should have started. He had. Let's just do the play-by-play. We had a field goal to start the game, and then Western Carolina fumbled. Next, ETSU scored off of that with a Bryson Irby touchdown. I'm following the game. It's 20-14. Not 20. Yeah, in the James Madison game. ETSU scored. Thankful for Bryson Irby. Then Western went for it. Didn't get it. But Gino English threw a pick right back. It was kind of an up and down game. Western scored. Their freshman QB who was starting in the place of Cole Gonzalez, Taryn Dickens. He was one of the better QBs we faced all year. Despite the turnovers, they scored 7 touchdowns, another pick by English, a third pick by English in the first half, punt down. They threw another pick in the end zone. No, they was not in the end zone. We scored coming out in our first possession in the second half after Western fumbled. They turned the ball over more than us. That was simply the game. English threw a good pass to Xavier Guidance to make the game. Western comes back and they score again, take the lead 21-17. I thought we were going to blow this game at that point. Another Gino English pick. Do we have 3 picks on the game? 1, 2, 3, 4. Who threw the other pick? Oh, yeah, it was the special teams play first. We did a horrible special teams call in the second quarter. Let's see. And then we pretty much sealed the game with a Bryson Irby run. Devontae Houston took it to the house to seal it, and we held Western for their final play and ran the clock out. Big win, but will forever be marred by the controversy of Darius Rucker. Although, shout out Darius Rucker for coming, even though his managers wouldn't let him perform. He donated to ETSU's NIL fund for each minute he was on the field awkwardly, just standing there at center field. That was a funny moment. Just a strange moment, to be honest. Let's go, John Bugs. Needed that right there. It's going to be a back and forth between me and football and talking about the subject I'm talking about currently. Let's see. Of course, that Western Carolina game was the largest crowd ever. We had 12,000 fans because they promised Darius Rucker would sing Wagon Wheel. But, another great win for ETSU. The next week was the final home game of the season against Furman. This might have been the most disappointing game of the season. I'm going to be real. We lost 24-21. English stunk it up. We brought in freshman Baylor Hayes, who played probably the best of all three QBs. Jalen King did okay. Geno English had a rushing touchdown. Devontae Houston played his heart out, had 103 yards and a touchdown. We just stunk it up. We got ahead. We were ahead. Got ahead. I believe 21-14 in the third quarter, and just threw too many picks. Once again, that was the name of the game on the season. Oh, Q, so close. Furman just came in. It was one of the least good. They were 2-5, 3-8 overall. Just a terrible Furman team, and we gave it to them. We gave the game to them, and cost us any shot at the playoffs. Just a terrible game all around. Let's see. And for the final game of the season, we ended up going to VMI. We got out of there with a conservative 16-9 win. Didn't try to do too much. Baylor Hayes started that game. We just kind of reeled the passing in, just kind of controlled clock, ran clock. Didn't pass the ball too much. Passed for 119. Devontae Houston, 104 yards. Irby, 53 yards and a touchdown. We should always win over VMI. A lot closer than it should have been, especially 1-11 VMI. I don't know how they've fallen off so much in 2 years, or 2 or 3 years, since they made the playoffs in that weird COVID year. But for some reason, Danny Rocco has not turned out at VMI like was thought when he was hired. Just a tough season, or tough finish to a good season overall. We did sign Story Archives not loading for ETSU. News. We went ahead. We extended Trey Lamb through the 2028 season. I believe he did sign that extension. That's one of the biggest stories coming into the offseason. 7-5 finish. My personal thoughts are I enjoyed the season. It was a roller coaster ride, but we played good. Played respectable football once again. I think there's a lot to build on for future seasons under Trey Lamb. I'm going to stop sharing for a little bit. Stop sharing so you can see my beautiful face. Anyway, Trey Lamb signed through 2028. He had several suitors come after him. I know Kennesaw State was pushing hard after they fired their coach, Brian Bohannon. Bad look for them. That's another story for another day. Terrible shot. But he was also being looked at Charlotte, another FBS program, but I don't think he got past the preliminary stage. I know there's a rumor my Boilermakers were going to hire him as OC. I think that was just BS. I think that was – apparently they gave Ryan Walters was fired, but they gave him a chance to look at offensive coordinator candidates, and I guess Lamb was one of the guys he reached out to. But Lamb, he's going to stay. Appalachian State just opened up, but I don't think he's going to head there. I don't think App State's going to be in the market for higher caliber candidates at this point. But yeah, so that's all the coaching sort of news and drama. But thankfully, no drama this year after we got rid of Quarles last offseason. And Lamb is here for the future. But the next order of business, just talking about our all SoCon performers. Let me pull them up. Six Buccaneers found their way on the all SoCon teams. Luke Smith, graduate center. I believe he transferred here from Appalachian State. His first team all SoCon, anchor of a great rushing and passing offense. AJ Johnson, of course, he was our leading receiver with 40 receptions and 662 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Had 100 yards over 3 times, which is a lot for a spread offense, air raid offense. But unfortunate news about him. He is going in the transfer portal, probably going to go FBS. So, yeah, his 6 touchdowns were the most over the last decade and most since Cecil Moore in 2002, according to ETSU's website. Jalen George on the defense, he was good. I believe he was second team. He may have been first team. He was first team. First team. All 3 of those were first team, so all SoCon. He started every game for the past 2 seasons. Redshirt sophomore. He had 33 tackles, 5 sacks, a forced fumble, 7 quarterback hurries. He held opposing defense to 3 yards per carry, which was the team's lowest mark since 1984. Bryson Irby, I believe he was third or second team. He was second team. He was the leading running back for the Bucs this year. 763 yards on 145 carries and 6 touchdowns. Was 4th in the SoCon and had 9 passes for 45 yards. His biggest game of the year was against North Dakota State. This is his final year as a Buck, and he will be missed. He has over 1,500 yards for his career. Darrell Bailey Jr. Let's see, did he transfer? Where? I don't recall. He transferred from South Florida. He was a redshirt senior. He helped us on the offensive line quite a bit. He was second team, also con. Watching the Bucs make me mad in the basketball game right now. He started all 12 games. We allowed the fewest sacks in the conference. And, of course, Zach West, linebacker, he was also second team. He recorded 56 tackles, 8.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and recovered another. He was a redshirt senior. But thank you to all the Bucs players this season that were in the all-conference teams and contributed to a successful season overall. As far as Trey Lamb's first year, I'd say I can't be disappointed other than some of those losses. Furman especially. We should not have lost to Furman. We easily have a chance to make the playoffs next year if we keep recruiting the portal like we'd have. Have a lot of impact players, and we've got to get the QB situation figured out. Too big, the QB room. Geno English is graduating. Jalen King has entered the portal. I was sort of hinting at that earlier. And A.J. Johnson has entered the portal. And apparently Darius Fountain, our high school QB we brought in last year, he will not be back as well. So we're going to be in the market for a transfer portal QB. I'll keep you all updated on that, how our class looks throughout the winter and spring seasons. Tomorrow's signing day, so we're bringing a few high school players. I may do like a little side episode here later in the week. But I think that's all I have for football at the moment. Successful season. And I'm thankful for Trey Lamb, thankful for all his help to turn this program around. Gonna need some more success. Gonna need some more wins. We got to win over Western. I was at the beginning of the year. I was hoping for 6-5 and beating Chat or beating Western. You only got Western, but Chat, you're coming. Your day is coming very soon. That said, I hope Tyler Riddell does not go to Chattanooga. But yeah, that's all I have for football tonight. Good season, good 7-5 season. At the risk of not repeating myself again, and we finished third in conference. So positives, two big positives for this season. And the next transition. It's been a while since I've recorded a podcast episode. Since it's been like 2 months. ETSU, the basketball season has started. So I'm going to start sharing share these stats. Let's share screen. Share screen. So far in the year, we are 6-2. Definitely a great start to the year. Been up and down, I'd say. We opened. Okay. I'm going to go to. We opened the season at that charity game, the High Point charity. I think I talked about it in some earlier episodes. We opened up, got smoked off the court to High Point, 71-56. High Point is a great team. I'm not sure what their record is right now. It is. They were 7-1 at one point. They are 8-1 and currently playing fellow conference mate UNC Greensboro. They are up 36-34 on UNC Greensboro currently. I'll be interested to see how that game finishes. Next game, our first official game, was a 21-point win over Newberry. I'm going to pull up our stats for that game. It was a rocky start against the D2 team, just our first game out there. Of course, Q Murray and Jaden Seymour instantly turned it on. Had 19 points for Q, 17 for Jaden. John Buggs got off to a slow shooting start. Bench points, Karan. Not much to say about Newberry. Good first win to get us established. Let's see. I'm not on the football site. Our next game, first home game against a D1 opponent, was Eastern Kentucky that Friday. They came and shot lights out. They shot 66% from free throw. Okay, 48% from three, nearly 50% from three for the entire game. The Bucs could just not keep up. They had just hit a little bit more of their shots. or more free throws. If ETSU hits at least like a 75%, this is a game we could have easily won against Eastern Kentucky. That Devontae Blanton for Eastern Kentucky, he played good. And so did Jordan Crawford off their bench. He just went lights out. He's not even averaging that much. She's shooting 33% for the year, and just had a lights out game against us. 5 for 7 from 3. Can't beat that. Bugs played good, had 16. Q, Seymour, that seems to be the big 3 this year as far as scoring, and Karan, big 4. And then you have some bench contribution. Not much bench contribution for Eastern Kentucky, I think, other than Karan coming off the bench. We followed that up with an 82-54 win over Tusculum. We played all right against Tusculum. Just kind of tried different lineups since Tusculum isn't a particularly strong D2 school, D2 basketball program. Seymour had 10. Hugh had 9. Starters didn't play much. Our leading scorer was actually Makai Johnson at 12. Him, Gabe Sis, Struthers, Karan Boyd all played lights out scoring wise. We shot 58% from 3. Actually, that's free throw. Never mind. 52% from 3. Beat. Not much to say about a D2 win. Next game, Davidson just frustrated me. I believe that was the same day as the Furman football game. We lost that 76-70. We just didn't have a shot. They shot 32 free throws, made 21 of them. We only shot 14. We kept it close. We had a 45-point second half. Just could not overcome that 6-point deficit. Jaden Seymour had a great game. Q had a great game. Bugs had a great game. That's our big 3 this year, and plus Karan. Not much bench production. Shot 43%. They shot 27% from 3. The big difference there was the free throws. So, yeah, big. They're getting us back for the win we got against them last year. Davidson is currently 5-2. They beat Providence, but got smoked by Gonzaga in Arizona. And they beat VMI 93-66 after we beat them, or after Davidson beat us, rather. Next game, we had the mid-MTE in Freedom Hall against South Carolina Upstate in Queens. South Carolina Upstate, we just dominated them physically after Upstate came out hot. Mr. Dean, we got in his head in that second half. We played a physical game. Jaden Seymour and Kumari Peterson might have played their best games as Buccaneers. Got some contributions elsewhere, but they just were lights out that game. We shot 44% from 3. They shot 18%. That was a big win over a non-conference opponent to get our first D1 win of the year. Although they are 2-8 and are continuing to drop games, so that may be a tough black eye on us as far as scheduling is concerned. Next game up, we beat Queens 82-67. This is honestly the more impressive win of the weekend. As Queens is a decent basketball university. They're 3-4 and are playing Winthrop tonight. Wonder what their score is for them. Let's see what their score is. Schedule. Let's see. They are only down by 5. So, that's a big game for them. Of course, Q led us again, 22 points. Karan Boyd, massive game for him, 20 points. Seymour, not as big. Bradford stepped up, had his biggest game of the year to that point, close to a double-double. No bench scoring, but We were missing Kurt Lewis for this game. Have been missing him for the last 3 games. So going to have to tough it out without him. The statement of the week, I'd say, probably was going to Charlotte. An American team. We're considered a bye game just because they're in a bigger conference. But early on in the game, we struggled to make shots. And we're just letting them dictate the game. But they ended up shooting 23% from 3. We played a all-around good game. Q, John, Bugs, Jaden Seymour, Karan Boyd. Got some bench scoring from Mackay. And it was just a statement victory over the Charlotte 49ers. So I think this is really going to propel us as we get further in the season. Just a big win over Charlotte. We followed that up with a home blowout over Austin P. Fellow good mid-major. They upset Butler early in the season. I don't think they're that good, so maybe Butler's not that good. But we dominated them. After early game, we just kind of rolled our offense. John Bugs played a good game. He was our leading scorer. Just kind of a balanced attack. Lots of bench points from Mackay, Sisk. Even got some walk-on points from Timmy Faish on. I think I pronounced that correctly. Roosevelt Wheeler had a big game, 6 and 7, with Davion Bradford out. Just a big game all around. So I am excited for this Bucs team. Building right off where we left off last year in the SoCon Championship. 6-2 start. I don't think anyone expected that. Maybe honestly we probably did, honestly, but going into a tough road stretch. Next of our four of our next 5 games are on the road. Starting tonight at James Madison, which I've been talking about throughout this podcast. Let's see. Those wins, they propelled us to. I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. I'm going to share again. Story archives. I've been looking at this. That propelled us to a number 20 position in the mid-major top 25 poll. I know I believe Sanford and Furman are on there as well from the SoCon. So those games later in the season, those are going to mean quite a bit. I'll stop sharing once again. Austin P dominance. It's the first time we've had 2 back-to-back 20 wins games back-to-back since Forbes did it. I believe in like 2018 or 2019, something like that. Sorry about yawning, but because I'm getting tired. But just 2 dominant wins just over on the season. This next road stretch, we go at James Madison, at Wichita State, at Jacksonville, then come home to Elon, and then at Kansas State. The rest of December, it's going to be tough sledding on those road games. I hope we can come back against JMU tonight. Only 10-point deficit. They didn't look like too tough of a team from their schedule, but you never know. Let's find. Am I still sharing? I am not. Just excited about this team. This team's starting to come together and have chemistry. As our new additions like John Bugs, Davion, as they blossom, as we get further into conference play, we're starting to see the makings of a good team. I know Ken Palm had us in the tournament today, today or yesterday. But yeah, just an all-around great week for Buccaneer athletics. Feast week, 2-0. Bradford and Seymour are playing at a rapid pace. They may be on track. They're on track to be first team SoCon, in my opinion. If they keep it up, just got to keep their foot on the gas. And the bench is starting to step up. We see it with Mackay, Gabe Sisk, Roosevelt Wheeler stepping in. I'm proud of him. There's been injuries. Kurt Lewis. We've done this without two of our players, Davion Bradford and Kurt Lewis. Kurt Lewis has a hamstring injury. Davion was out Saturday with an ankle injury. But we persevered through it. Just got to keep grinding. And the upcoming week preview, I had the JMU game. I wanted to preview it. I was going to record last night, but didn't get around to it. And JMU, I'm going to look up. Let me share what the JMU, let's see, live. Look at James Madison. Down by 10 points. Not improbable since we came back from further down against Charlotte. Let's share screen. Halftime still. They are 4-4 so far. Have losses to George Mason, UC San Diego, Townsend, and Norfolk State. Their wins aren't anything special either, except in Ohio. That's a big win. So they are a new team. Former head coach Preston Spradlin. He was at Morehead State. Did a lot of good things there. Replaced what's his name, Mark Byington, that went to Vanderbilt. They have a pretty comparable team to ETSU, honestly. But we should. It's a road game, so I'm hoping we come out of the road trip with at least 2 wins, but I don't know. Wichita State is 6-1. That's going to be a tough one. They beat Minnesota on the road, in a tournament, 68-66 in overtime. Beat St. Louis, Mimith, Northern Iowa. These are no slouch teams, so this is going to be a tough game on the road on Saturday at 7 o'clock. Bucs are going to have their word cut out for them. Hopefully Jaden Seymour shows out. Is it Cessna Arena? I believe their arena is called Cessna Arena. That was what their football stadium was called. No, I'm stupid. Wichita State men's basketball arena. Charles Cook Arena. That's what it is. I've heard they've had trouble keeping their fan base invested, especially since Greg Marshall left. Yeah. And then, of course, we go on the road to Jacksonville. Let's go back. Jacksonville is 4-4. They're in the same conference as Eastern Kentucky and Austin Peay and Queens. I don't think they're as good. I'd say they're pretty comparable to. I'd say they're comparable to Austin Peay probably. So we should get a win over them. Kansas City, same thing. I don't think they are doing too good. We played them in Freedom Hall last year and beat them pretty soundly. And then Elon, of course. We played them last year, lost a tough one. Hopefully we can get a victory over them. Gonna need another home victory. That Eastern Kentucky game, man, we should have won that. Really should have won that. But I'm excited about this team, man. There's not much more I can say about our schedule and team at the moment. But another thing, we signed a player for the early signing day, Maddox Huff. We will share his screen. He is a tough player. He's one of the top top players in the state of Kentucky for this upcoming season. From Harlan County, small school in eastern Kentucky. Let's share my screen again. Was sure to. No, I don't need a script. Let's see. Stop. Share Maddox Huff. He had offers. Sorry, I was checking out the game. He had offers from Chat, Eastern, Moorhead, E.T. Martin, Youngstown. We got lucky there. But he was going to be a big time piece for the future of ETSU basketball. Brooks Savage, Coach Savage really likes him a lot. He's going to be a good combo card. Can light it up. Keeping that guard depth is key, especially last year. We didn't have much guard depth after Q and let me look at it. Didn't have much guard depth last year besides Q and Abby Asamoah. We just go through runs where we couldn't score, and that hurt us quite a bit in conference play, and against Sanford especially too. I'd say one last thing before I'd go get off for the night. Women's basketball, they've kind of been meh so far this year, but they had a statement win against Memphis, another American foe, at home. It's not often you get to see a team like Memphis come into Brooks Gymnasium. And Coach Brown, Coach Mock Brenda Brown had her team up for that one. I'm going to go find, let's see, NCAA women's. Let's go find scores. SoCon, the Southern Conference. We are down Sunday. Beat them 78-71. Just a tough victory for ETSU women's team. Courtney Moore had 25 points and 3 steals. And we, I know we were up quite a bit and let them back in it after the end of the half, towards the end of the first half. I believe at one point, let's look at the box score. First quarter we were up. Second quarter we were up quite a bit. Third quarter we let them back in. Outscored us 30-11. Hopefully the women's team can make some noise in the Southern Conference. It seems like Mercer is usually the big dogs there. We're not winning that game. ETSU's probably not going to win against JMU tonight. They're just shooting lights out. It's up 44-28 right now. I've been going for a while now. Just had to get out a big special. Soccer lost in the SoCon Championship to Furman. Same weekend as losing to Furman in football. But it's been a great time discussing some Buccaneer athletics. I highly recommend you donate to the Bucs for Good and donate to flood relief efforts around the Tri-Cities. Continues to be an issue. A lot of broken families from that situation. Um, and yeah, I think that's all I have for tonight. Appreciate you all for tuning in. Those of you that are going to, I love you, Buck Nation. Love to have a player on. Love to have a coach on. Former players, former coaches, students, student athletes, anybody associated with ETSU athletics or ETSU in general is welcome, more than welcome on the podcast. I want to get this thing back rolling full time. And I want to do a lot of fun stuff here heading into the new year. I appreciate you all, but it is now time for me to say Godspeed, go Bucs, and you all have a good night. Thank you.